Hello and welcome to the vlog. The boat was on the move again and approaching the nexus of the Coventry Canal with the Trent and Mersey Canal, but approaching from the south, not the west, as I left you in the last cruising vlog. That's because I took a little diversion during August. After about 5 weeks at the marina over summer, when the canals were very busy with holiday makers, staycationers and all that, I'm setting off again and I'm picking up from where I left off at Fradley Junction. The Fradley swing bridge is ahead, but note also the pedestrian on the towpath, who is another boater and who'd kindly volunteered to open the bridge for me, saving me the bother of stopping. To continue cruising where I left off meant taking a right turn at the junction, and this puts you straight onto the aptly named Junction Lock. Making things easy for me as I eased back into it was the team of volunteer lock keepers who swung into action like a Formula One pit crew to ready the lock by filling it with water. With the gate shut behind me, the lockies now opened the lower paddles and the boat began to descend. 8 feet is the depth on this lock. When both gates open ahead of me, I always feel like I deserve a trumpet fanfare as well. Would that be too much to ask? I shall write to the CRT to ask them to train the lockies accordingly. Immediately below the lock there's a facilities point which I stopped at, but look what happened when I moved off. This wobble is not me moving about on the back of the boat, but the boat going over something which I could distinctly feel under the hull. Yes, I have reported it. There's 3 locks in quick succession coming this way, and this was the second of the bunch. It was already full from another boat coming up, so all I needed to do was open the gate. Having then moved the boat into the lock, I shut the gate. It was while doing all this that I realised just how sedentary I've become of late. This took a lot more effort than I remember. Too much sitting around eating cheese sandwiches perhaps? No, that's nonsense. You can never have too much of that. Further exercise was then demanded as usual at the bow to release the water and lower the boat. 6 feet 1 inch in this case. Fradley's always a busy place, so it was no huge surprise to have someone else turn up from an oncoming boat, and together we opened the gates and closed the paddles. There's the lady's boat, her husband waiting patiently at the tiller. And, because they'd spotted me in time, they'd been astute enough to leave the gates of the third and final lock of the flight ready for me. Having descended, a further 5 feet 8 inches, there's then a long straight with Canal and River Trust long-term moorings at the side. You can see how the boaters have made the places their own, with garden furniture and such like. This is not the towpath side, so they're not obstructing anyone. It's a very civilised and quiet location, an ideal mooring spot, I think. Further along, you start to glimpse evidence of a new marina under construction. They've been digging this out for quite a while, but things must have paused during the early stages of the pandemic. Now there are a few signs of activity returning. It's not long before you begin to reach the next village, which holds the prestigious title of most unpronounceable village name in the UK. It's Alrewas. That's Alrewas, possibly Alrewas, or Alrewas. I find it best to just mumble without any conviction. Alrewas. It's a very pretty and very quiet village. I do like it a lot. Now that's an end of garden mooring. Whoa! I was going to carry on, but it's so nice here, I didn't. The next day dawned overcast but mild. Leaving the village, you briefly travel along a section of river, so I thought it best to get the anchor at least accessible in case of any issues.
There is a very good argument to be made for having the anchor at the front, but on my own, I think if an emergency was to crop up, by the time I've run through the boat to the front to deploy it, I could be in worse trouble. So on balance, I'm going to have it deployable at the back.
Having been out for a week by now, my first task was to stop at a water point, of which there is one conveniently to be found just around the corner from where I'd stopped. Not just one tap in fact, but two adjacent to each other. You see those upright posts with the white tops. I stopped at the furthest, leaving space for someone behind me. You need your British Waterways key to open these, by the way. It's to stop vandals leaving the taps turned on, I guess, or other mischief. Refilling can easily take upwards of half an hour, so a bit of boatside meditation is often in order, watching the world go by and chatting idly with pedestrians. I spotted this house. Isn't that a wonderful roof? A lot of folk have asked me recently where the exhaust comes out on my boat and whether I'm breathing in the fumes. No is the answer. It's down here, below my feet at the back, just a few inches above the waterline. 1¼ furlongs further on is the lock that takes you down to the river section. This meant a bit more exercise, and then a bit more waiting while the lock filled. Canal boating is largely about waiting. That's its appeal. The sign warns you of potential doom on the frothing waters of the Trent, and you're supposed to check the level gauge, which I discovered is unhelpfully invisible from the lock, but instead points outwards at boats coming the other way who already know what the level is since they're on it. Quiz time. Who knows what these gouges in the brick are for? Lovely, clean new paintwork on the roof. Oh.
And having done that, lock puts me onto the river section, which, like all rivers, is full of danger, mortal peril. Actually, it's flat calm and I think it'll be fine.
Here's where the River Trent comes into the canal from the fields to the side. It exits over a weir not much further along, although you're not officially off the river part until you go through the next lock about a mile away. There's the weir, with the river going off to the right. It's a favourite haunt of short-sighted seagulls who confuse it for an ocean estuary. You have to go left under this bridge, which feels wrong, but the signs are very clear. Apart from the roar of the A38, these are also pleasant moorings. And there's the pesky road itself, right alongside the canal a bit further on, and it stays there for quite a long stretch. Look away from the road and try to ignore the noise, and it's very rural.
We've just got the beginnings of some sunshine coming out, which is nice. And the UK is apparently predicted to have a mini scorcher heat wave over the next week, mid-September. Temperatures down south up to about 30 Celsius, and for the UK that's a heat wave. Nonetheless, I am going to stop at a marina along here and see if they've got any coal for the stove, because we have had one or two rather chilly nights lately. I don't think the heat wave will last that long. I've only got half a bag of coal, so it is best to be prepared. So I think I'll see if they've got any and get a couple of bags in stock. It's Barton Turns Marina, which is just along here.
Squint at the middle of this picture and you might just be able to make out the marina entrance on the left of the canal in the far distance. Handily, there's no need to negotiate the narrow entrance. Instead, they have a convenient visitor mooring right outside. From there, you just walk through to the office buildings. This is the marina, obviously. After a couple of minutes, I had my bags of coal and the loan of a trolley to wheel them back to the boat.
Well, that was rather expensive, which is what you get for buying from a marina. £13.50 a bag, but I only bought 2 of them, and it is terribly convenient here with this mooring pontoon for visitors right alongside. So I'll just stomach that. I wanted to get some in stock, and what I think I'll do now, as it is lunchtime, is pull back over to the other side, which is the towpath side, because this is just for temporary mooring for shopping with the marina, and I think I'll have some lunch.